It's very rarely that a finance minister is called a second time to address the association. Anyway, in this budget, I have also made a reference to the Colombo University. We've asked for plans for development. We are willing to fund it, but we must be able to go at least 100 points on the Times Index. That is the first thing. When you get there, we'll tell you to go another 100 points. For Sri Lanka, universities must be world class. We are spending the people's money. So this is what I have left to the Colombo University. This is called a tightrope walk. I don't know whether I'm a tightrope walker. I feel more like a trapeze artist. So does the other members of the team. That's what we have been doing. Now I listened to the observations and I thought I will start by giving a background to the budget. On the estimates and what has to be done, I will ask the Secretary of the Treasury to deal with those subjects in detail. Otherwise, I won't be able to go for my next appointment. What is this? I am not looking at this as a budget per se. And one thing I must say, the estimates can change. Especially it depends on what happens in the Middle East. None of us can say that. So we are all keeping our fingers crossed that there will be a ceasefire in Gaza, making it easier for the people of Gaza and for the rest of us. But there are other issues also where the whole thing, the budget can change, not because of internal factors, external factors. Then what is this that we have presented? I have taken a leaf out of President Roosevelt. When he took over, the banking system had collapsed in USA and rest of it. His approach was not merely a budget. He introduced the budget, but he introduced a series of other measures, laws and other measures, which in 2 to 3 years' time introduced the New Deal. That's what we are looking at. Where were we when I took over in July 2022? I was listening to Iran Wickramasinghe yesterday in Parliament, and he said that we are trying to have them in a Disneyland. All I want to say is that yes, we were in the house of horrors of Disneyland. And I have just taken it out, and I'm taking them out of Disneyland because the parliament seems to be like Disneyland. When you look at the opposition, they are living in a make-believe world. So you have to take them out of Disneyland in here. That's what I'm doing gradually. So what I've done is to spread what we are doing. First, stabilize the economy and reconstruct the economy. To do that, you can't do it in a budget. No. Budgets in the English Westminster sense is really the accounts. But there are much more to be done. In the US sense, they don't give budget that much of prominence. It is the rest of the laws that come in. So this is what we have done. The first was coming to an agreement with the IMF last year. In September, after doing so, I made the first statement in the House. Second was the budget of last year and the budget speech. This was mainly towards stabilizing the economy. Now we've gone ahead on that. We've come to the last stages of the bilateral negotiations. We have got responses from everyone, including China, and we hope when they sit in December this year that there will be positive results. So looking at that background, one was this budget. This budget had to conform to our agreements with the IMF, and that's what we have done. Secondly, as Dr. Wijewardena said, there is nothing called a free lunch. Now we have to realize that. We have to live within our means, this government or next government or government after that. And that's what we want to introduce. However difficult it is to tell the country this is what you have to do. It may be unpopular, but you have to do. You have to take a lot of unpopular decisions. But it's going more than that. The speech I made and the proposals I made is not merely about stabilizing the economy. It is the new economy that we are going to reconstruct. And I will deal mainly with that, leaving the technical issues to the ST. We have to look out. Some say this is election budget. This is more a budget for a new economy in which the people have benefited. You had to give a pay increase to the government servants. I would have liked to have given more, but I am not in a position to do so. Even this we have to start paying gradually after the first 3 months. To give the pensioners, you must realize how difficult it is for people to live. You know that in your own places. We are asking the foreign, as far as the private sector is concerned, I think it's up to you because some of you have already made adjustments. We hope the others will make adjustments, but we will intervene and I will speak to the plantation companies which come under the finance ministry now in regard to the plantation workers. So those are pay increases that we have to give. Secondly is Aswasuma. We have increased the expenditure about 3 times, from 60 billion to how much? To nearly 183 billion. 3 times. Why have we done this? This is no longer a political system. It's a part of the new social contract that we are building. We have to pay for everything. If you want a good government service, as you said, pay for it. But you have to look after the people who can't afford to pay. Then the money we give under Samurdhi was not sufficient. And we have to select those who are deserving. So we increased it threefold. It was done after discussion with the IMF and the World Bank. All of us have the same view, that we have to increase. Then the money that we have given for SMEs, which we are starting with, when you leverage, is about 250 billion. We felt that's what that could be taken in the first year. And then the big one, the biggest privatization in Sri Lanka. We are giving about 2 million acres to the people. They will no longer be permit holders. They will be owners. We are also giving the apartments in Colombo for them to own. Remember, we took them out of lands which were worth about 15-20 million a perch. Now, even if they were squatters, even if you're going to buy the land, you would have given them at least half the money. So they have already paid for by removing them, you have already paid for it, for the land. But it's more than that. There are two. One is, we are adding about anything, people, some say 500 million, others say even go up to about 2 trillion into the economy. Those type of assets, a larger number was written off during the COVID. Now we have put it back. And put it back not at the top, but at the bottom. And the banking, the credit system will expand in the next 2 years. You can see the smile on his face. But that's good. That's one way of making the economy grow. But the economy is for everyone, not for a few. For some, it's the stock exchange. For others, it's going to be this. And I'm just carrying out guiding principles of the Constitution, 27(2)(f), where it has to be dispersal of ownership among all the people and not be concentrated. Similarly, 27(8), which says the wealth also has to, one is the means of production, other says the wealth. So you've done both. Now it's a question of how we make it grow. I'll come to that. That is one part. Then we are happy about the banks being partially privatized. No, we are going to keep nearly 60% in the holding companies. But in the process of privatizing, we'll ensure some part is given to the employees. But depositors must also have the ability to buy the shares. We'll make a special concession on that. So if you are a depositor, it's not only you. Remember, between the People's Bank and the Bank of Ceylon, the large number of ordinary people who have purchased shares. We are looking at an institutional investor, but even otherwise I am not too worried, because there will be enough people from Sri Lanka and others who will invest. It's not the big accounts in the city office. What I am looking at are the people who are there in Kakirawa, in Kanda and other places. So our one is to expand ownership, make people the stakeholder, and in the future enable them all to come into the stock exchange. We'll do that in every other, we would like to promote it. So that's the principle. Expand ownership. Let more and more people have a stake. Now, someone told me, why are you giving this to the farmer? I said, if you want, they suffered for 2 years without fertilizer. At that time, it's good for them to suffer. Now you don't want to give them. So under the Crown Lands Ordinance, State Land Ordinance, we don't need new legislation, we'll just start giving it. So, but with this, where our idea, and that have been accepted, is a highly competitive economy, which we have made for it. Then digitalized economy. So most of what you say have been accepted. Some of them want to know how I going to implement it with the present government machinery. I can't. So I'm asking the private sector also to join it. It's a national effort. Either we get out of this and go in a new direction, or we fall. Because you can stabilize the economy, you can have debt sustainability. If your balance of trade is against you and you haven't got your budget is in deficit, look, in the long run, you can write it off. So we will give you all the help. And I think we have to focus on it. This is why we want to have a Business and Innovation Council. You have to commercialize your inventions. A digital agency, transformation agency, which we'll get into. We have to move fast. And yes, the government sector has not moved on many of it, but I have given them time, and the government state is intervening. At the center we are intervening to ensure things are getting done. If you can't do it, we'll give to someone else. That's all. The job has to be done. So that's the notice there. And then we have to do AI. Artificial intelligence is essential. So we are giving attention to AI. So these are the three areas, as I said, we are going ahead. We want to finish digitalization as fast as possible. So let's set the goals and go ahead. I want to put it to Parliament, so everyone will agree on these goals. And basically, a lot of it will have to be done by the private sector. Look, we haven't got the money, so we are asking the private sector to take over. And this is one of the reasons that we are privatizing Sri Lanka telecoms. So that's one reason. Secondly, we are going for the energy transformation. If we look at our solar energy capacity, have we looked at the whole of dry zone? No, we haven't. We are looking at our tanks and our canals, other places. So just look at the potential and the wind power. Basically, we want an excess which can be converted to green ammonia or green hydrogen or sold to India. Now, Singapore is putting a power line to India. If we are sufficient, why don't we join that power line at some place? So these are the ideas. We have excess energy. We are a small country. We are not going to heavy industries. So let's get into that area, energy. The whole energy transformation, that is necessary for the green economy. We've already got our climate prosperity plan. I mean, we have to raise something like nearly $100 billion till about 2040. A lot of it has to be done by the private sector through green bonds. So let's get into one of the first Asian economies. And we have a separate unit in the Ministry of Finance looking at both green financing and debt relief. Though we have, in a very short time, have a sustainable debt, many of the other countries aren't, and Sri Lanka is committed to all the low-income countries' debt being written off. So we are getting into the international fora on writing debt off and how we can handle it. Because the next big debate will come in Doha as to the loss and damage and how much the West is going to contribute. Is it only for the island states or is it going to be more? So this is a crucial meeting that we will have. We won't achieve anything, but we will but we know the direction that we are going. And Sri Lanka's contribution is going to be the International Climate Change University. We set up in Kotmale, and we are setting up a panel to look at a tropical belt. An idea that if we focus all the resources on the tropical belt, which is the most biologically diverse area, then the impact will also be on the other parts of the world. So we are going ahead with it. These are commitment, and we are fully committed to the green economy, and we want to be the first in this area. So those are the areas for you to look at. That's the future. I'm just telling the private sector. On this, we are going ahead. Then comes our agriculture modernization. We have never touched agriculture. Even after Mahaveli, we just neglected it. Our average is 3.5 metric tons a hectare. Australia has 10. But in off Munragal Hambantota, we make 11 metric tons a hectare. So we want to focus on the dry zone, send it up to 8 metric tons. And we will do that. The whole agriculture system has to be modernized. The government machinery, the provincial machinery will be combined with the private sector. We are already talking with the private sector. They can go in, and even these agrarian centers will become farmer service centers where everyone can work together. We have a committee headed by Professor Senanayak of the Peradeniya University where the private sector is involved. We are working this out. Then, in regard to this, we are also looking at fisheries, mainly inland fisheries that go with this. And to expand inland fisheries, together with inland fisheries, of course, the land to be available. One reason for giving freehold title is that the farmers feel it's their land and we'll help them to increase their productivity. But that's not all. We are for large-scale agriculture. First, I look at the regional plantation companies. Some are doing well, others are not. We have to see what are the remedial actions we have to take. But more than that, we want to make 300,000 acres available for large-scale farming. I don't know if the private sector is ready to take it on. He is looking at it because all will have to be digitalized. So farming, agriculture is main beneficiary. We have to combine the two. Which means the estates belonging to the state corporation, plantation corporation, we put out next year. Anything from about 150 hectares to 1,000 hectares. Then Mahaveli A and B, which has not been tapped, and part of C. Then the other lands available. We can use it also, Mahaveli, for food security for other countries, for island states who are interested. So this is agriculture. And yes, there was a question on milk production. No, these are the figures given to me by the new combine of Amul and Cargill's. What they are taking over, they'll go up 50%. Finally, there'll be 200,000 animals giving 10 liters each. So that will be 20 million liters coming out of that. I took Ambavella from 1,600 liters, it has gone to 55,000 liters. Now they have also taken over the Ridhigama farm, and they are hoping to go up to a higher level, which works out today. They must be having about nearly 25 to 27 liters an animal. And they are already exporting. So there is a lot of scope when the others join in. So this is what, there is scope in agriculture. We are looking at inland fisheries first, then into commercial ocean fisheries. So this is a big sector to get into. That's why I've said agriculture modernization. Then the other low-hanging fruit is tourism. So we are looking at a different type of tourism, 5 million. We hope we get about $400 to $500 a night. So that has to be worked out. There are groups now with the trade who are working out the plans for tourism. So these were two big sectors that's available for. There are other areas. I need not say on manufacturing. We mentioned that we have to be competitive. We are going in, we are already discussing with India. We are talking with RCEP. We have already talked with some of the ASEAN countries, then the EU. So we have to be very, very competitive, which means we have to go to Industry 4 technologies. Let's skip all this because we can't compete as far as mass numbers are concerned with Bangladesh. There will be Myanmar that will open up. There will be other countries. There will be in India. So it's not possible for us to compete with them. So let's take a leapfrog and go there. Then you need the people. So we are going to do a complete change of the education system. That will take 10 years. But our focus now is on the universities. Just open them out. New universities. There will be 3 new universities, which NSB or more, private ones. Government will charge 3 on the KDU model. Students can pay and we will give them concessional loans. We are also talking with India for a campus in Kandy of the IITs, Chennai. So they are just opening the whole thing up. Provincial councils can establish universities. They can already under the law. Foreign universities can come in. So that's a big area that's working. And together with the private sector, we'll work on the skills development. Finally, we are looking at Sri Lanka as a regional logistic hub, because this is going to be the only main port that's available. And we are looking at developing the port on the north side after the present one is filled. We have a lot of scope. We are talking with India on developing Trincomalee. So we can become a regional logistic hub. We should work on it. So these are the plans to move forward to ensure that we reorient our India economy, and that by 2030, 2035, we will have a very modern economy. Next to us will be India. India will grow fast. So we have to get the supply chains. We have to go in where we can. And the more nimble you are, the more opportunities you have. So that basically is the background to what has been, what we are planning to do. That's why I say the budget is only one part. We will go ahead. Let's say things get bad in Middle East. We have to revise it. Nevertheless, our major plan, certainly we won't abandon that. In the next 2-3 years, we are turning this around. We can't just depend on one budget to turn the economy up. Budget is only what the government is going to do, which will have an impact on the private sector and the financial world. But that's not the only issue. And as we grow, there will be more. As we grow, then our budget will also change. And as we grow, there will be a less demand on the private sectors by the government, because as your gross domestic product expands, there is far more capacity for taxation. This is why I came more than discussing the budget, to discuss what we are doing. So the budget is only one part. There will be also other statements we have to make from time to time, once debt sustainability is reached, and then the next steps. So what is important is what we are going to do, and the new laws that we are going to bring. Some have been mentioned in the budget. There are others outside it. So like what the Americans did, we thought that we should follow the same way, because the crisis was too big for us to deal it in one budget. You can't. You have to change. So that's what you have to realize, and that's what I came to tell here, is that we have to change, and this is the direction we are going in. So thank you very much for listening to me, and also I hope I have given sufficient clarification for the questions you have asked, and the Secretary to the Treasury will certainly take the rest up.
No, one of the key question is how differently would you overcome the challenge of implementation? Given last year budget, there was some opinion that most of the proposals were not implemented. How would you?
Some of the proposals of that we revised. Since we are turning around so fast, we thought we need a new approach. That's why we didn't take some. But there are problems of implementation. So we are calling in the private sector. We'll call in for some other retired people. But then we are passing on the responsibility to the private sector as we open up. We will have some foreign assistance also. It's a question of mobilizing the country to go ahead. So it's all up to whether you are prepared to take it and go ahead. That's all. I mean, if you all don't go ahead, there's very little the government can do.